Welcome to Your Personal Power Pod, a podcast about aligning yourself with the life you want. And here are your hosts, Sandy Abel and Shannon Young.
Shannon, another beautiful day. How are you today?
Hey, Sandy. I'm well. How are you?
I am great because it really is a beautiful day. We've had a lot of cold weather around here in Southern Oregon, and today it's going to be in the mid 70s and the sun's out and it's beautiful. So summer's coming. I love it.
Yeah, this is awesome. And it's also a really nice metaphor because we were talking about our forecast, which is to be 72 today. This is the one day. Today is
Yes,
spring.
right.
And then it goes back to cold and rainy and thunderstorms for the foreseeable future. But you and I are choosing to focus on the sunshine. That is
Nice.
what all of our conversations are about.
Always. You find the good, you find the joy, and you work with whatever else might be there in the way.
Yes. So today we're talking about relationships and
Right.
recognizing and appreciating those who are your people.
And it's so important. I was talking with a man who was telling me that he was feeling kind of lost because he's in his late 20s and he had a pack of guys that he hung out with and they caroused and had fun and did all that stuff. They were all really close. They grew up together. And then a couple of years ago, he met the love of his life and fell in love and got married. Then they had a baby. And he said, when I try to spend time with them now, we just have totally different focus. They just want to get drunk and carouse and have fun. And I'm thinking about, gee, I left my wife home with the little person and I'd really rather be there. He was feeling sort of lost because he had his crew there, but he didn't belong anymore. And he hadn't expected that to happen. So it got me thinking about relationships and how they ebb and flow, even though we don't expect them to.
Yes, and I think we've all had that experience where we meet somebody randomly at work, on the bus, whatever, and have an instant connection with them. And then it just turns out that you're kind of in the same phase of life or in the same circumstance or something that puts you on the same plane.
Right, you bond.
You bond, and then those relationships sometimes can go on to last for a lifetime.
Right.
And sometimes you just have a really intense, short relationship that runs its course, and then you're no longer there together anymore.
Yeah.
We talk about this in our family as front row people. You have front row people who are there for the duration, your family,
Right.
if, your chosen family or your given family, whoever you bond with the most and trust and choose to be closest to, those people are there for the duration. And then you
Right.
have friends or coworkers or acquaintances or even loves who come around for a season or a good chunk of your life, but they're not supposed to be around for all of it.
My saying is a reason, a season, or a lifetime.
Yes.
For this man I was talking to, unfortunately, he thought these people were lifetime people. And once they get married and have babies and maybe they will rebond. But right now, he doesn't feel like he fits with them anymore. And he's looking for new people that he can fit with.
They can't relate to where he is.
He can relate to where they are because he was there, but he doesn't want to be there anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I am reminded of a country song, My Rowdy Friends Aren't Rowdy Anymore. He did a song before that was all about how he and his rowdy friends had a good time and did all that stuff. And then a few years later, he came back with this song. It's like, goes through the song and explains, and this guy settled down and this guy got sick and can't party. And that's what relationships do. But people don't expect that and are often blindsided by it.
Yes, especially if you've had people who've been around for a long time and you just feel like they will always be there. And that isn't always the case, and that can be devastating.
And that happens a lot with family.
Mm-hmm.
When you're young, you need the people in your family because you are not able to go out and make a living and provide a house and food and all that stuff when you're 7. But those may not be the best relationships, or they may be overly indulging you. And once you're 25 and want to go live your own life, you might look at those people and say, I love them, but they can't continue to treat me like I'm 7.
Yes.
I'm not going to put up with whatever kind of abuse they dish out. And we don't expect to have to do that either, but we do.
Let's talk about how quality relationships improve our life. Why are they so important to us?
One of the most important things are they're good for your health. if you have a good relationship with somebody, they cheer you on and support you in good times and are also there to support you in bad times. It makes it so you don't feel isolated or lonely. You have companionship.
Mm-hmm. And they're just there to witness your life. I remember a line from the movie Shall We Dance with Susan Sarandon and Richard Gere and Jennifer Lopez.
Mhm.
And Susan Sarandon and Richard Gere are married, and he's kind of not fully there. He's obviously going through something, and his wife she loves him, but she also respects that he'll figure it out, and she wants to give him the distance to do that. But she's also concerned about him. So
Right.
she hires a private investigator just to make sure he's okay. The private investigator is asking her, what do you think is going to happen here? She's like, I really don't know. It's very scary, but I just truly want to know he's all right. And he says, well, what do you think the point of marriage is? And she says, I think the point of marriage is you're saying in this very busy world where there are a gazillion things that could take your focus, your life matters to me enough that I will witness it. I will
Ooh.
be here to testify that you were here and you lived this life.
Oh, that's beautiful.
I know, isn't that
I
great?
love that.
And I can tell you, I've had plenty of toxic relationships in my life, and those people are not around to witness my life. That was not what they thought was important.
They didn't make you feel happy or reduce your stress or help your self-confidence or any of those
Mm-hmm.
things that a positive relationship will do.
Yes. Quality relationships help prevent isolation and loneliness, and they give you a chance not only to feel and revel in companionship, but to offer it as well. Like that's one of the great joys of life, is to be there for
Yes,
someone else.
exactly. You give as well as take.
Yes.
And there's actually, I think, more joy in giving than there is taking.
Yes.
That's another valuable part of a positive relationship. Yeah, and it boosts your happiness, reduces your stress, improves your self-confidence and feelings of self-worth. It helps you through bad times and good times and all kinds of things if you have a really good relationship with somebody.
They help you cope with traumas and just the everyday trials of life, loss and work and leaking roofs and all those things that
Yes,
happen to
those
all of
things.
us.
They listen.
They listen and they provide support, and they can also be really instrumental in helping you live your life the way you want to live it. It's not always easy to eat the way you want to eat. It's easy to eat the way you want to eat if that's ice cream and burgers.
Yeah, right.
But if what you want is somebody there to hold you accountable and be supportive and encouraging and appreciative and help you exercise and drink water and do all those things, it's great to have somebody there who cares and treats you well.
People with strong social connections really have a reduced rate of many significant health problems.
Mm-hmm.
And they're not as depressed and they don't have high blood pressure and they don't have all kinds of other things because they are happier and feel supported. It's quite impressive.
And I don't think we notice it until we're in a toxic relationship. It's really easy just to say, like, yeah, I've got great friends and great family, but I'm just so happy in my life. But then
Right,
if you wind up in a bad relationship, you
right.
can really see how it affects the rest of your being.
And it's important to be in touch with yourself enough to be able to identify that something uncomfortable is going on.
So, like you mentioned earlier, frequently we get into relationships with coworkers or friends or loved ones or our significant others and think, this is great, this is going to stay this way. And I think in my world, that's especially true, just given where I am in life, especially as a female of my generation. Everybody wanted to get married.
Right.
And you find some guy who makes you happy and who makes you laugh and who is responsible and an adult and trustworthy. And then you marry him and then everything changes. You're like, but what happened? Marriage
Yeah.
was supposed to be the prize when it turns out marriage is where the work starts.
That is true. People don't realize that. That's
Right.
very true.
And so you're thinking, what just happened to my relationship? And it shifted and now you got to readjust.
Yeah. And the person that you have the relationship with also has to readjust.
Yes.
Like you said from that movie, you're there to acknowledge each other exists and to find the joy together. There's a lot of positive in relationships if you choose the right ones.
So why do we choose the relationships we do?
There are a lot of reasons. We have common ground. You're in the same group together, like the guy I was talking to, or you're in the same family, the same church, the same community.
Proximity.
Yes, proximity, and you have things in common that you can talk about. Hopefully, you choose people who are trustworthy and loyal and reliable and who listen and act like they want to be around you, make you laugh and enjoy your time together.
Ideally, they respect you and
Yes,
accept you for who you are and also have some qualities that you admire. We like being around people who reflect the things that we aspire to be.
and they empathize and support you, they listen, and they're open and real. They don't put on a show to try to impress you and allow themselves to be vulnerable, and you can feel safe feeling vulnerable with them.
They understand the give and take as
Yeah,
well. I think that's big key. They allow you to support them while also
yes,
supporting you. Sometimes that's really hard for people. They're happy to give, but they don't
right.
know how to accept.
I've found that especially with parents, when their children are little, they give to their children. Then when their children become responsible adults trying to live their own lives, the parents just keep hovering. They're hover moms or hover dads, and they give, and they give advice. They show up all the time unannounced, and they try to take over things. That can be smothering.
Now we're back to boundaries.
Yeah, we're back to boundaries. Yes. It's all a circle, But we choose people because they're fun and because they make you feel energized and inspired and they make you feel seen.
I think we need to emphasize here that this list that we just went through, these are the ideal reasons to choose relationships. It's not necessarily the real reasons we choose relationships. I think at different phases in our life, we have different reasons. Maybe we're choosing people because they repeat patterns we're used to. Maybe we choose people because they can help us get where we want to go. In seventh grade, maybe that's popularity. In your 20s or 30s, maybe that's a career.
Right, exactly.
If you're in a relationship that is not feeling healthy for you, and if this is a pattern, I think taking some time to ask, what am I getting out of this? Was it Dr. Wayne Dyer who said, if you continue to be in relationships where people treat you poorly, what's the one thing they all have in common? You. So, what is it about you that is continuing to choose this path? Because that's the only way you're going to change it.
Very true. And it requires some self awareness
Hmm.
for you to look at the relationships in your life, see how you feel when you are with those people, and see if it's meeting your needs or if it's causing you problems. You may no longer have much in common. You may have gotten together because you were in the same elementary school, but then you went on to high school and college, and you don't have that bond. You have the old bond, but you can't build an adult life based on what you did in fourth grade.
Yeah.
It doesn't work. And you can honor what you had. It's not saying it wasn't good, but it's just saying that you've outgrown it and the other person's outgrown it.
And that doesn't necessarily mean you have to let those people go. You and I both have friends in our life who have been friends forever
Hmm.
and who we don't have the same kind of relationship with. We're not talking to them on the phone all the time. We're not hanging out all the time. In fact, sometimes we drive them crazy and they drive us crazy. But at this point, they've become an accepted part of the family. And if they ever needed anything, we would be there for them and vice versa. So
Absolutely.
we love them, but
Hmm.
right now we're not necessarily enjoying them.
Exactly. Yes. The emotional connection is still there unless
Yes.
somebody's done something to just destroy it.
Yes.
But you still may not have much in common anymore. Your life has changed. Their life hasn't changed. Like the gentleman I was talking with, he's now settled down family man, and his former buddies are still having a darn good time being single. Or sometimes you realize that somebody doesn't accept or respect you for who you are. They're always trying to change you.
Mhm.
Or you may notice that your relationship is one sided. I've had people like that. I realized after a while the only time we ever got together or talked was when I would contact them. So I would do a little experiment and decide, okay, I'm not going to do that anymore. And there's one woman I haven't seen in 10 years. I just stopped reaching out and
Yeah.
she never, ever, ever made the effort. So that let me know where I fit in her life, which was I didn't.
Or she just doesn't know how. Some people, it doesn't ever occur to them that you actually have to work at relationships.
I would think that if they want to see you, they could make a phone call or text or good grief. There's so many ways these days, but that's fine. We drifted apart and I was trying to make it happen and she was cooperating, but not invested.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to acknowledge that there's no bad guy there.
Right.
It's just things change. They
Yeah.
don't show interest and sometimes it's just too exhausting, too much work to try to make it happen.
And I would like to emphasize here, we mentioned when we were talking about the reason we choose the relationships we do, about, paying attention to the way you feel when you're with them. But I
Mhm.
think also paying attention to how your relationship works when you're not together is also
Yes.
important. I have friends who are dating.
Uh-huh.
And they have been in confusing situations where they will see a guy a few times. And when they're with him, it feels like everything is clicking and he's right there with them and they have the same things in common and he's respectful and he's attractive and he finds them attractive and everything seems perfect. But when they're not together, they won't return texts for days
Ah,
or
okay.
they're saying, this is really hard because it feels like things are right, but then I'm not a priority when we're not together. You need to feel equally as secure when you're not together as you do when you're together.
Absolutely. Like I was saying about my friend that drifted away, is if they don't reach out to you or they don't respond, they're not reliable and responsible.
Mm-hmm.
If those are your values and that's what you expect in a relationship, then they're not your person. I don't care how much fun you have when you're with them. Their values are so different that you can't count on them. They're not your person.
What's that saying that's been floating around for years now on social media? Don't make him a priority if he makes you an option.
Yeah, beautiful and so true.
And so
Yes.
true.
And that works with everybody.
Yes.
Female friends for females, females with males,
Family.
family, all kinds of people. You have to determine that you have an equal amount of investment in the relationship, or it's not healthy.
Yeah. So it is important to understand in every relationship that it is normal for it to ebb and flow. Change is a constant. What did you used to tell me when I was a kid? When I was in my teens and I'd go through a breakup, and you would say, Shannon, every relationship you will ever have is going to end. Even if you marry and spend the rest of your life with someone, at some point that is going to end. Just accept that and appreciate the now, and it will go better for you than trying to find something that's going to last forever, because nothing does.
But with relationships, it's good to have things that will last for a long time if you want them
Yes.
to, if they
Yes.
are both healthy. And I can't emphasize that enough because some people hang on to relationships that are not healthy, that cause problems. And if that's happening, you have to get clear with yourself about what's changed and how you feel about being with the person or group now versus how you did when it first started.
Yeah.
It's like your friend who was dating and she really enjoyed being with the guy, but then how did she feel when she wasn't with him and he was ignoring her?
Mm-hmm.
Got to pay attention to that. That's huge. Just notice if it's draining or stressful more than enjoyable.
Causing anxiety.
Exactly. Look at the positives and negatives and decide if it's worth maintaining.
And if you can't tell for sure,
Hmm.
take a little break. You don't even
Absolutely.
have to let them know.
Yeah.
Just like, oh, I'm sorry, I'm not free for the next couple of weeks.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then just see how you feel when you've basically set a boundary and don't have that person immediately in your life.
Exactly.
When I was dating in my 30s, I have such a dating history. I was with a guy who'd moved across country to be with me. And because of that, we felt all kinds of extraordinary pressure to make the relationship work. It was not going smoothly. At the time, I was so angry at him for saying this. But now when I look back, it was such a wise move. He said, look, I love you, but this is not working. And I don't know what the deal is. So I just need to take a month and see if my life is better without you.
Yeah.
And it was so brutal to hear that, but he was so right.
He was wise.
Yeah.
He knew that he needed to do what we're talking about, take some time and evaluate.
So take a break and stop trying to force things. We think that more energy and more work will make things better, and frequently it just makes things harder.
Yeah. Don't feel guilty about it. Be proud of
Right.
yourself for setting boundaries and claiming your personal power, taking care of yourself like your friend did.
And the right people will understand that.
Exactly. And the ones that you're supposed to be with, when you get back together, it will still be good.
Or better.
Yes. Or if he takes a month off and then calls you again and says, hey, I want to be with you, cool.
Yeah, and what can happen is what happened with us, which was when he came back, I was like, I'm not okay with the fact that you were okay with that, and I don't think this is right. And it's fine. Everything worked out the way it was supposed to.
But he was very in touch with where he was coming from, and
Yep.
you were with you. And that's the bottom line with all of this,
Yeah.
is to be clear with what's happening for you.
And then if you're in a place where you feel like, I need some new people in my life, I need
Yeah,
some fresh blood, man.
right.
Then it's time to start making new friends. And that can be really hard when you're an adult.
Yeah. Although I think if you are willing to push your comfort zone, join a class or activity group, bike riding or line dancing or bird watching or book club or anything that you're interested in, just join a group of people that are doing that. You may find somebody that you click with, or it's always good to volunteer your time in the community.
Hmm.
That's a wonderful thing. You give back and you might meet people that you enjoy.
Yeah. And just kind of be open. People can sense that, just like they can sense when you're closed. So when you're out in the world, smile at people, make eye contact, start a conversation. When you meet someone, ask questions, really actually be interested in who they are and what's going on for them and listen to their responses. And then respond to them when they say something, comment on what they just said. And that doesn't mean like automatically share things about you, although that is definitely part of a give and take conversation. We could do a whole other series of episodes about how to talk with people, how to be a good conversationalist,
Communication. I think we've done that, listening and such, but we could do it again because it's so important.
and then be brave. If you really like someone, male or female, whatever you're looking for, just muster up the guts to say, you know what? I just kind of really felt like we might be in the same place in life and I liked your energy. And would you like to meet for coffee sometime?
Yeah,
And that is so scary to do, but it gets easier the more you do it.
right. They can say, no, I'm sorry, I'm busy or I'm taken or whatever. And then you'll know that they're not your person. Or they'll say, oh, that's really fun. I was thinking of the same thing. Let's do this. And then you go and do it. Keep it mellow, keep it easy, get to know each other, and build it slowly.
Yeah.
If after that one meeting you both had a great time and you say, hey, this was fun, let's do dinner next time, great. Or if you say, this was really fun, thank you for your time, I've got to go, I have an appointment. And that's the end of that because it didn't work. And that's fine too. It's just about being aware of how it feels for you. And
Hmm.
just because somebody wants to be your friend does not mean you have to be theirs. So many people feel obligated if somebody likes you to just, oh, okay. If it doesn't feel right for you, don't go there.
I think part of that is just not knowing how to handle it, not knowing what to say. And if you can have some phrases in your quiver to bust out, I'm so sorry. I really thought I was in a place in my life where I was ready to make new friends, but I realized I just don't have the energy. You were great and I loved meeting with you, but I'm sorry, I just don't have the time in my life right now and maybe another time.
Perfect.
It doesn't have to be like, no, I really didn't like being with you and
Yeah.
we will never be friends. You can phrase
No.
it gently.
Right. You can own it.
You can own it.
Thank you for your time. And it's been fun. And I appreciate you showing up for this.
Yeah.
There are all kinds of ways. The important thing is to not feel guilty and get guilted into forming a relationship that does not work for you.
Right.
Stop it at the beginning. Don't jump into something just because they want it and you don't.
Part of quality relationships is authenticity and
Right.
honesty. And if you
Absolutely.
start a relationship with someone because you're afraid not to,
Yeah.
that's not a really great foundation.
And when you do find the right person, there are certain things you need to do to maintain that.
Oh, so many.
The first one, like you said, is being authentic, being honest.
And respecting yourself as well as the other person.
Exactly, exactly. And you have to be loyal and honest and reliable and respectful and kind, trustworthy. Trustworthy is huge. And take it slowly to build the connection.
Yeah.
I know that's hard for some young 20s people who are dating and they meet some person of the opposite sex or the same sex or whatever their persuasion is and are physically attracted as well as emotionally attracted. And they just end up having a physical relationship without even knowing who the other person is. And that will skew everything.
Immediately.
Immediately. Yes. And so take it slowly and build the connection. Find out if they have all those values that you do and if they are trustworthy and honest and reliable before you decide to take that physical step.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and respect not just the other person and yourself, but respect their relationship. Don't talk behind their back. Don't badmouth it. Take care of it.
Right.
So that includes setting healthy boundaries for both of you, being able to say no if things don't feel right, healthy communication, which I have a degree in communications, and you, as a therapist, of course, you're a communications expert. But I feel like it's the one topic that we really need to be addressing from a very young age across the board in our schools.
Yes, absolutely.
And we don't talk about it at all.
No, because everybody's on a screen and you don't communicate.
We never talked about communication in school when I was a kid, and we didn't have computers back then.
That's true.
I guess we all just equated talking with communicating, and they are not the same thing.
That's a very important point. They're very, very different. Just because there's noise coming out of your mouth does not mean you're communicating.
So true. So true. And also stop talking, shut up, and just be a good listener.
Yes, yes.
Let people be who they are and say what they need to say and respect it.
And hear it, respond to it. Don't say, oh, yeah, I did that too. That shifts the conversation from them to you. That's not what a good listener does. And you also have to be fun and positive and optimistic. The only person you ever need to control is you. You're in charge of you, but you're not in charge of anybody else. If you're with somebody who's trying to control you, get away fast.
Mm-hmm.
Don't try to control other people. That does not make for a happy friendship.
That's part of respect and trust.
Sure.
I trust that my friends can take care of their own life and are making the decisions that are right for them. And if they need help, they will reach out. And I can ask if they need help, but it is not my job to decide it is time for them to have help.
Yeah, you just be there for them, and hopefully at some point they'll figure it out. And you listen. You listen.
Well, and that's a big part of it. I've always been a very independent person, and I lived alone for a very long time. So when I did get married, it was like, your problems are my problems. But that's not true. My job is to love him through whatever he's going through. And if I can help, awesome. And if he wants to ask for help, that's great. Sometimes I know that it's hard for guys or, anybody to ask for help.
Yeah.
And so making myself available and helping where I can in a way that's respectful, that doesn't assume that he can't take care of his own life. But I mean, it really is a balance. It's not one of those things you just set and forget. You got to pay attention constantly.
Yeah, relationships are not easy. Finding the right people and being able to be with them is an effort, but it's well worth it. It's incredibly rewarding when you find the right person and they think that you're their right person and you can do it together.
Whether romantic or otherwise.
Oh, yeah, with friendships, with your family.
That's an interesting concept. We make friends when we're little for a variety of reasons, because we're in the same kindergarten class together, or we live in the same neighborhood, or we're on play dates because our parents set them up. And then some of those friendships grow roots and hang on for a long time. But then when we realize, hey, I'm missing some of this in my life, how do I go get it? Like you're really building a team. So look at it like, who do I want my team to be and how do I want that to enhance my life? Because that's the whole point. Like, we don't want to bring people into our life to make it worse or harder, but we do all the time.
Relationships are about forming a team, like you said, and being supportive and being there for each other and knowing that you're not alone as you go through life, because sometimes it helps to have support.
And they have to be people that you want to be there for too.
It has to work both ways, always.
Yeah. Awesome. Wrap us up.
Okay. Throughout your life, you will have a variety of relationships with family, friends, church, school, communities, other kinds of organizations. Wherever you meet people, you will form relationships. And there are all different levels of commitment and intensity. Some positive relationships are important for many reasons, including fostering good mental health and physical health. They give you a sense of belonging and being part of something important. Relationships tend to evolve over time and shift as your circumstances shift. It's normal for a relationship that was once strong to fade away as things change and you move ahead in different directions. There are many ways to identify when a relationship is unhealthy. You notice if it seems to be a struggle or if you feel uncomfortable with it. Remember that you always have the power to walk away from a relationship that no longer meets your needs. You also have the power to meet new people and form new relationships. And once you've found new people, it's important for you to do your share to participate and maintain the relationship you are building. And always continue to check in with yourself and see how it feels as it grows.
You make it sound so simple.
Relationships are tricky and they are a challenge. The bottom line is claim your personal power, look inside yourself, see how it feels for you. And this is for all your relationships, including family, friends, work, and then make your decisions on how to proceed based on what's going to work for you.
As Rumi said, be with those who help your being.
Always.
You help my being.
Oh, and you help mine all the time. We are very fortunate that we have a great relationship.
We're also really sappy, so thanks for hanging in
We
there
are.
with
Yes,
us.
yes. We appreciate everybody for putting up with this.
We want to hear from you. We want to hear your stories about how self-esteem and personal power affect your life. We also want to hear about any topics you would like us to address in future episodes, and you can get any of that information to us in a variety of ways. You can contact us wherever we stream. You can visit yourpersonalpowerpod.com, click contact and drop us an email. Through those same channels, you can also review our podcast, which we would really love. That's really helpful. And you can also chat with us on Instagram. We are at Your Personal Power Pod. And if you want to learn how coaching can change your life, because it really can, contact Sandy for your free coaching meeting. Sandy at insidejobscoach.com is her email address. Thank you so much for listening. We look forward to hearing from you. And until next time, find your power and change your life.